Today I'm going to be adapting a Honda rear brake master cylinder onto a Suzuki RM125 or 250 frame. All we're going to need for this is, of course, the master cylinder itself. This is from a 2002 and newer Honda CR or CRF. We'll also need a custom brake clevis. This allows the Honda master cylinder to line up with your stock RM brake pedal. Now, the reasons why someone might do this conversion is because the master cylinder that comes on the older RMs has a remote reservoir, whereas the Honda style is built in. So it kind of simplifies things, updates the look of the master cylinder, and then also people report that they like the feel of the Honda master cylinder better than the Suzuki. Kind of gives a more positive, a little better braking feel. So you'll notice the Honda master cylinder actually bolts right up to the Suzuki frame, which is why this conversion is so easy to do. We just got to make one little modification here on the frame, a little bit of filing, so that way the bottom mounting hole lines up. After about 5 minutes of filing, here's where we ended up. That is spot on. And of course, if you wanted to speed it up, you could use an angle grinder or die grinder. It should only take like 30 seconds just to knock that off. Then of course, you want to touch up that bare steel so it doesn't rust. And then you can use the stock Suzuki bolts to secure the master cylinder to the frame. And we don't need the Honda clevis or the Honda brake line or Honda caliper, only the master cylinder. This is how the clevis will mount up on a completed bike. Just threads onto the master cylinder like the stock one would. You want to make sure you have a nut on the shaft already. Let's see how this lines up. Looks like we're right where we need to be. And for the pin, you want to put some grease on the shaft portion. The threads already have blue Loctite. And just pop the pin in. I have to wiggle it a little bit to get things lined up. It's a pretty precise fit. And then just snug it up. Tighten down the lock nut. And you're good to go. So here's why a custom clevis was necessary here. So you want the master cylinder shaft to be straight up and down at all times. If it's crooked while you're using the brakes, that'll wear out the internals and the brakes won't work quite as good. So with this clevis, we had to angle it back a little bit to get it to line up perfectly with the brake pedal and to keep that shaft straight. From the rear, had to bring it out a little bit, offset it, so that way that shaft is nice and straight. So yeah, it lines up perfectly and there's gonna be no issues with braking here. Another small tweak you may have to make here is with the brake line. If you notice the line is sticking in towards the shock spring, you may have to trim this tab on the master cylinder right back here where the brake line contacts it. And once you have that trimmed, it'll tuck in nicely and be a nice straight shot down the swing arm. So that kind of depends on the brand of brake line that you're running. Some stick out more and some tuck in a little better.